everybody. Welcome back to Concierge Confidential. I'm your host, Brian Ortega, and in this week's episode, we're doing another hotel highlight. It was asked by a few people that when was I going to do a new one, and I found out that I haven't done one in a while. So in this week's episode, I'm actually going to be going downtown to highlight the Circa Hotel and Casino. I've actually done a couple episodes about Circa. They were quite specific. Like one of them was about 8 East, which is the restaurant there, and the other was when they had the Barbie takeover, which is when all the bars had pink cocktails. But in this particular episode, I'll go over what the rooms look like, what the experience is like, and what you should be ready for if you stay over at the Circa Hotel and Casino on Fremont Street. So this is a hotel highlight for the Circa Hotel and Casino. Okay, ready? So we are back. So we're going to be diving into the Circa Hotel and Casino. So the Circa opened in 2021. I believe it was the end of 2020 into 2021. So the Circa itself, important notes to make. This hotel is actually pretty decent size. It's actually the tallest hotel on Fremont Street. It also is partnered with hotels like the Golden Gate and the D Hotel that make up the Circa brands. Obviously, Circa is the flagship property. It's also important to note that the Circa property is 21 and over. So if you are staying with children, you shouldn't. I believe that is sometimes a problem, that people make reservations for Circa. It's important to know that while it happens, but they don't like that happening. It becomes very hard for you to navigate the rooms, and I believe that it becomes a really, really important thing to keep a note, that if you are going to be staying at the Circa property, you have to be 21 and over, which is fun if you are 21 and over, because that means you don't have to be ID'd at bars anymore, and when you are in there, is that everybody is around the same age as you, which is always really nice. Kind of a throwback to sort of the old school Vegas. By the way, this used to be a thing at the Bellagio when it first opened, that you had to be 18 or over to walk through the property, as also was a time when they banned strollers to people who were not staying at that property. That was a Steve Wynn thing, and a fun little story about Steve Wynn is that the rumor is he came up with that idea because he once tripped on a stroller, or tripped over a stroller in one of his casinos one time, and said, "I never want to see a stroller ever again." So that happened. But anyways, back to Circa. The Circa property is owned by Derek Stevens, and this property itself is actually beautiful on the inside. It's very, very large. It's 2 stories, which is something you don't see very often in Las Vegas hotels. When I say 2 stories, is 2 floors of casino, which long time ago, they actually had table games on the top floor, which was a really good idea, but they didn't get as much traction. So that just meant that they were able to put it downstairs, where they had added more table games, and again, the upstairs area, a lot more slot machines for those of you who like slots. Also, lots of restaurants at this property. I believe there is a count of 4 actual like brick and mortar restaurants inside of the Circa property. And Circa itself actually has a lot of stuff in that property for its footprint. It actually used to be the old Las Vegas club, which I walked in there once in my entire life, and it was just, when you walked in, was just a big giant casino, very plain but just very, very big. It also took up a space called Mermaids, which Mermaids was a very interesting place. It was such an old school looking casino where you just walked in and it was just rows and rows of slot machines, and in the back they had their world famous, I remember telling people this when I was a tour guide, their world famous deep fried Oreos and deep fried Twinkies, which was and I think they had deep fried banana too, but just such a funny, interesting thing about old Las Vegas, which is hilarious. They also had Le Bayou, which was another place, but that was on the other side. It's no longer there anymore. But anyways, getting back to Circa. So Circa itself is a beautiful property. It's very, very cool on the inside. It's also very, very cold because they actually have the air conditioning shooting up from the floor. That's always a fun little tidbit when you walk in. It also has a beautiful I can't say sculpture because it's not sculpture, a beautiful old neon sign called Vegas Vicky, which used to grace the outside of the property before it was changed to this new hotel. And it looks beautiful. It's a great centerpiece. It looks over the Vegas Vicky bar, which is actually one of my favorite bars to go to if you ever catch me at Circa. So we'll start there. So a lot of bars here. I always like to start with the bars because that's one of my favorite places to go. But actually, I want to have a longer conversation about the bars. So let's just talk about the casino itself. The casino itself, most of the minimums are going to be 15 or more, especially if you're going to be playing blackjack or baccarat or any of the card games or even roulette. You're going to be looking at $15 minimums across the board. Same thing with craps. Most of the crap tables are going to be $15 or more as well. But there is one craps table that, depending on how busy it is, it's right in front of the mega bar, is $10 at some points during the day. And sometimes in the evening if it's sort of like an off week. But really nice, really approachable casino. It's a little bit loud. I don't think it's super loud, but if you are with somebody who doesn't like loud music, they do play pretty loud music in the evenings. It's really to keep the energy going inside of the casino, and it really feels like a party on the inside. Also, they have regular dealers throughout the day and even in the evening. But once we get past 7 or 8 o'clock is when they have their dancing dealers come out. They have the similar thing over at the D and I believe at Golden Gate. And they will deal as well as dance. So they're sort of like the sexy dealers, which is always, a fun time if you're here for a bachelor party, of course. But speaking of that, this hotel tends to be marketed a lot to bachelor parties or groups of guys and that whole thing. And it is, but I think it's actually a really great property for women as well, just because many other restaurants are very, friendly towards women, just like anything in Vegas. Also, they have their cool like bunk bed suites, which I've talked to a couple executives that are like, that's kind of a good idea. But when you think about it, it's like 4 or 6 people sharing still just one bathroom. But it works if you're trying to sleep separately, so that's always nice as well too. But you figure it out. But anyways, this property, again, even though it's marketed for a lot of men, I think women would enjoy this property as well. It's clean. It's really friendly. I think they'd enjoy the vibe and sort of the experience. And I think this is a really good property for really anybody. Also, it depends on sort of what's going on that week during sporting events or anything of that nature. I think this is a good property for that. So let's do our deeper dive in like the lounge aspect of this. So they really have like 4 specific bars inside of Circa. So if you go in, they do have the Vegas Vicky bar, which I'll talk about that one in a second. They also have the Mega Bar, which is the world's largest continuous bar in the world, only preceded by the one that was the D called the Long Bar. This is now called the Mega Bar, which is a huge bar in sort of like one side of the casino floor, which really specializes in flair bartending. They also do a lot of they do cocktails, obviously, but they do a lot of beers, on tap. They have a big giant wall of TVs, which people love to sit at, obviously. So that's the Mega Bar, which again, this is where you're going to find a lot of the flair bartenders, which is what they're really known for at this particular property. Also, if you go up to the top bar, it's called the Overhang. That actually overlooks the Sportsbook, which we'll be talking about in just a second. But over at the Overhang bar, you also get flair bartenders, but they also know how to make really good cocktails. I would say this is a pretty standard bar. I wouldn't say the cocktails are out of this world, but it is a very fun bar to hang out at, just so you can kind of catch the vibe. And it's a really good sort of like pre-gaming stop if you're going to be walking on Fremont Street at all. But that would be the Overhang bar. Something very similar to what you get at the Mega Bar as well. Now, let's sort of make our way down to the bar that I enjoy the most, and that is Vegas Vicky. Vegas Vicky is exactly where it is. It actually sits overlooking the Vegas Vicky sign, and it's really cool. It's a very, very sexy place. This is where you actually find the owner, Derek Stevens, a lot. He likes to have his cocktails there, and they have a nice little lounge area. They have a beautiful bar. I also have actually filmed one of the bartenders making a drink there. It's called the... You can actually find it. I forgot the name of it. It's pink and it has Pop Rocks in it. I don't know if it's still in the menu because they've actually redone the menu every 6 months, I found out. And right now it's movie themed. But what was it called? I can't ever remember what it's called. But That's at the Vegas Vicky bar, but they really know how to make cocktails there. This is one of the best cocktail bars on property. There's another one that I'll talk about in a second, but the Vegas Vicky Cocktail Lounge is the place you go if you want any mixed cocktails. If you want Amaretto Sour, if you want a old fashioned, a martini, whatever, that's the place to do it. So that's the Vegas Vicky bar. You don't need reservations. You also can't reserve because it's a lounge. They don't do food. It's strictly just a cocktail lounge. But it's really in the center of the action, and it's a really great place to sort of look out and sort of see what's going on while people are walking in and out of the property. But I really enjoy Vegas Vicky bar. You usually find the cocktails there $18 to $20. I don't pay that because I know the bartender. But, I mean, it happens. Concierge Confidential. But if you do want to see that drink, by the way, that was made, you can check it out on my Instagram page, Concierge Confidential _LV, or on TikTok at Keys to Vegas. You can check it out there. But Vegas Vicky is definitely one of my favorite bars and the one that I would recommend. If anybody said, hey, what bar should I go to? I always say the Vegas Vicky bar. The one that everybody will always tell you to go to is the bar upstairs called the Legacy Club. You do have to ride an elevator to go all the way to the top. There is a dress code required for this particular bar, and yes, it is actually enforced. I one time was actually going to 2 different events. Well, I was going to one event, and I wanted to go check out, Legacy Club, have a drink, and then go to the next thing I needed to do. But being dressed for the Legacy Club and going to the next thing wasn't going to really go together. So I wore this cool graphic tee that said Weekend Update and then wore a jacket over top of it. And they said, no dice, sir. Can't have graphic tees. And I was like, that's fucking lame. But anyways, I learned my lesson. But I've gone before, and I just sort of do a nice, long black shirt, nice shoes, so on and so forth. But dress to impress. No shorts. They're not big fans of shorts. But they do have the dress code online. You can check out the dress code. But typically, just a nice plain black or white T-shirt. A collared shirt is really what they're going for. But if you're going to wear a black or white T-shirt, put a jacket on, a sports coat, whatever. Nice jeans, no tears, very similar. Think if you're going to a nightclub, that's how you want to dress to go to Legacy Club. The idea about the Legacy Club is that it's supposed to be sort of a throwback to the old school Vegas. And once you get up there, you actually see the busts of many of the legends of Las Vegas, like Frank Lefty Rosenthal. You have people like Kirk Kerkorian, Jay Serrano, Steve Wynn. People like this, you'll see them inside of the Legacy Club. Well, at least they're busts. But then when you walk up there, you come through the elevators, and this big, beautiful window is to your left when you turn in, and you see this beautiful picture of the Las Vegas Strip from downtown. When you walk in, you turn to your left, there's this big, beautiful sort of section of gold bars, which tells you the market price for gold at that point. They also have a nice patio on the outside that actually has a fire pit. You can smoke cigars in here. That's sort of the big thing, is that you can smoke a cigar someplace. But it's not a cigar bar, but it is, I'm not saying encouraged, but you are able to smoke cigars in there, so you can't really get mad at people who smoke cigars inside of the Legacy Club. It's part of it. But they make really good cocktails. They're really focused on their whiskey and their old-fashioned customization, if you will. If you open up the menu, they actually have all these different old-fashioned choices that you can make, and they will make your old-fashioned for you. But just know there's a lot of influence of these properties from the Midwest, so you'll find old-fashioned, Wisconsin old-fashions that typically have brandy mixed in it. But overall, the Legacy Club is a beautiful, beautiful place. You usually find a lot more mature people inside of the Legacy Club, so you're going to find a lot of people in, their late 30s, 40s, 50s, even their 60s. Not saying that 20-year-olds don't go there. I mean, I'm not a 20-year-old anymore. I'm 31. But you tend not to see very young people in here because of the dress code, and I think that's the point. They also have lots of special events here, so make sure when you are visiting that you check their calendar to see if they do have any special events where you can dress up. I believe the one that's coming up is the Great Gatsby event, where you dress up like Great Gatsby, obviously, so 1920s, flapper dresses, that kind of thing. Also, those events tend to have a lot of old people at them, but hey, anybody can go, obviously. But they also have a white party, which is a thing. They have done things for the Kentucky Derby and things of that nature. So really sort of the classy events they tend to try to have up there. They have a Mardi Gras party. I've seen that before. But very, very popular over at the Legacy Club. They do have live music sometimes. They also have a DJ, just depending on the evening. But they are running this sort of special if you are going during the summer months. I believe this actually ends once August comes up, so I think August 8th is they actually have fireworks from the plaza that has a perfect view from the patio at the Legacy Club. So make sure you go there and check it out, and that's every Friday when you go over to downtown. So that was all the lounges. Obviously, I didn't count the ones that are outside, which outside you can find their slushy bar, which is quite popular. But anyways, let's go back on the inside. Let's talk about the restaurants. The restaurants themselves are probably very eclectic, I would say. They do have, I think I said 4, but they do have 5 if you count the barbecue spot, which is outside of the hotel. It's fine. It's okay. I've had the ribs there once. I think I had a pulled pork sandwich. It was okay. It's really good if you want something casual, and if you're going to be going back to your room, or if you want to stand outside and eat it. But once you go inside, they don't really like you eating like at the bars and that kind of thing. But if you go to the sportsbook, they do have a choice that you can actually order on your phone, and they'll bring it to your chair if you want. So as we dive into a lot more of the restaurants, let's go ahead and talk about one of my favorite restaurants, and that's 8 East. So 8 East is their Pan-Asian cuisine. If you go there, they have a lot of things that are sort of Thai-inspired, but they do have lots of noodles. They have brisket fried rice, which is probably one of their most famous options. They have lobster fried rice. They also have these really good, sort of dry rub wings, which are delicious. They have a short rib dish, which is really good. Did I say short rib? It's not short rib. Bao buns. That's what I wanted to say. They have really good bao buns, which are really delicious. Another thing, if you really like steak, it's market price, so make sure you ask about the steak and see how it comes. It's actually really delicious. It's usually about $65 for their steak, and I highly recommend it. I usually sit at the bar, which is where Christy, one of my favorite bartenders, works. I will actually go to that bar as well if I don't go to Vegas Vicky and I just want to sort of hang out and just sort of relax. I will go to the 80s bar, especially if I want food, because it's delicious. But it's probably the most approachable thing on property that is not like Saginaw's or Legacy Club, but it still feels like a really good restaurant. Really great for first dates. It's also really good if you want something that is going to be shared, because they do like tapas style. So highly recommend 8 East for any of those options. And especially if you wanted something a little bit more refined but don't want to go to Barry's, I recommend 8 East all the time. Usually you can get a reservation, but you just have to check the calendar and see how busy it is on Fremont or in town that day. So moving through, we have Saginaw's. Saginaw's is their breakfast place. Well, it's actually open 24 hours, but I go there for breakfast. The breakfast is really good. I think their breakfast is the best part of their menu. They can do bacon and eggs, all that good stuff. But they are sort of like a Midwest deli, so you can find a lot of sandwiches that are made to order, deli sandwiches, sort of old East Coast sort of vibes, you can find at Saginaw's. It's a little pricey, I think, for what you get from Saginaw's, but they do serve, a good array of things at Saginaw's, and it's sort of like a deli counter. So you walk up, you order it, and they do have a place to sit as well. Really good late night bites. Like if you're there and you're just kind of drunk and you just want to sort of sober up, you go there, have your bacon and eggs, have some steak and eggs, whatever it is, and then go on your way. But I think really good option for that if you end up going out to Saginaw's. The other option is Legacy Club. Legacy Club. Not Legacy Club. Oh my goodness. The burger place. Forgetting the burger place. Let's go online. I'm here already, so I'm just going to check it out. Victory Burger. I almost forgot. So Victory Burger. So Victory Burger itself, the burgers are quite good. They have their main burger is called the Victory Burger, which is good. It's a little too big for me, so I just go for their all-American burger, which is a little bit smaller. They also make really good onion rings, really good waffle fries, chicken fingers to die for, good wings. Not my favorite wings, but everything in Victory Burger is a la carte, so they don't have lots of combos. So Victory Burger, you go and you get a burger, fries, and a soda, you're at $30. So that's actually kind of a lot for what you think you're going to get at Victory Burger, and it ends up being that price. So Victory Burger, tad bit expensive. I'm not always eating there just because of that particular reason. That's why I go to 8 East. Feels a little bit more economical, so that's why I do 8 East instead of Victory Burger a lot of the time. So now that we've talked about all the restaurants, we've left off the two main reasons most people go to Circa, and that is the sports book and, of course, Stadium Swim. So we'll start with the sports book in particular. The sports book has been said, by Derek Stevens. I've asked him about this. Is, when you thought about this hotel, what did you think that, the centerpiece was going to be? And he always wanted to build a hotel that was centered around sports bettors or the sports book, which you don't see that very often. A lot of hotels, and I went to school, I got my degree in journalism, but I did take a casino class. And the fun thing about the casino classes is that they told you about all the games and stuff, but they also told you where all the money comes from inside of a casino. And they'll always tell you that the sports book actually makes one of the sections of the hotel that makes the least amount of money. And it's definitely in the bottom tier of what makes money in a casino. It's next to like the poker room and of course sportsbook and Keno. Reason being is that I won't do the whole thing for you here, but when you bet on a sport, you bet on either side. So you bet either like the Packers are going to win or the Bears are going to win. If one team wins, that means, the people who bet on that team get money, right? And the other side doesn't. The casino keeps it. Well, that's not very good for a casino because you actually just don't want 50% of people's money. You want like 80% of people's money. And that's how a lot of the other games operate, but not the sports book. Obviously, that's changed now because of all the, the broadenization or the globalization of sports betting in the United States of America. It makes people bet parlays, people have props, and you can kind of subsidize that. And again, that's great. But overall, the way that you make money off of this sports book is that you sell spaces to actually subsidize that. So Circa Sportsbook is stadium-style setup. It actually has seats, just like a stadium. They also have like luxury boxes as well. They also have seats that you can rent that are like loungers. And of course, it fluctuates depending on what sport is going on at that time. But Circa Sportsbook has become one of the most popular places to go for a lot of young people for big events like the Super Bowl. March Madness is huge, and then big events like the World Cup and things that are centered around sort of a timed structure. But this place gets popping on crazy, crazy nights. UFC, it's a huge deal. But this place is actually one of the reasons that people come and visit. They also have a big contest called the Circa Survivor and Circa Millions that people will come. They sign up. They get a hat. It's $1,000 an entry, and you have the hopes of becoming a millionaire at the end of the football season. So that is another reason that this place has become so popular. But they have this huge, giant wall of TVs, which basically is not just TVs. It's actually a big, giant screen that is sectioned off for each game, depending on what game it is, what day it is, so on and so forth. But one giant screen. It's state-of-the-art. It actually leans forward. You can actually look up, see all the games, has all the odds for everything on the right-hand side. Really is state-of-the-art. I work there. So not there, but I work there. I don't want to give off like where I work because it's confidential. But I can tell you that when you work there long enough, it becomes kind of part of the day, and it's always fun to watch people come in and look up and see and just kind of be amazed by how big this TV is and how sharp and bright it is. So it's nice to see that on other people's faces. So that's a huge deal. But Circa Sportsbook, one of the best sports books in the world. I don't like it because I like to stand and watch, and there's not a lot of places to stand and watch. But that's just me. Anyways, let's move outside to Stadium Swim. Stadium Swim is exactly what it sounds like. It's a stadium tier setup for the pools. Their pools are actually heated when it comes to the wintertime, but in the summer, it is just as cool. It's actually the coldest place to get when you're up there in the summer because when you're standing on the deck, it is extremely hot. But the thing that people always like to talk about is the beautiful giant screens on the outside at the pool as well. It's one of the only places that has TVs outside of, at their pool of this structure. It's also where they have a lot of the UFC events is out there as well. And I think it would be a great place to watch the Super Bowl. It's a great place to watch any of the UFC fights, March Madness, anything you want is just sort of sit outside in the pool with a big giant TV with the sound on the entire time. They have lots of events at Stadium Swim. They've had fashion shows. Well, bikini contests, not really fashion shows. They've also had a hot dog eating contest out there. They do all these wonderful things at the Stadium Swim. They also have blackjack. They have roulette on the outside as well. You do have to pay a fee. The cool thing is that you can pay a fee even if you're not staying at the property. I believe it ranges between $25 and $30. It can go up from there as well, depending on what event it is. If it's like really high demand, like let's just say middle of July or middle of June, they'll charge more, like maybe $45 a person to go up there. Again, it fluctuates depending on the time of the year, and that's a huge deal. So Stadium Swim itself is actually not bad. I just think it does get hot. Obviously, it gets hot up there during the summertime, and when you are standing on the deck, it is very, very hot, so make sure you take nice flip-flops or whatever. You can also get one of their cabanas, huge cabanas, which are really fantastic, and it's a really popular thing to purchase, especially if you're here for like March Madness and that kind of thing. I sort of skipped the rooms. I totally forgot to tell you guys about the rooms here. The rooms themselves, very, very nice, pretty, more high standard on Fremont Street than any other property on Fremont Street itself. A lot of these rooms are going to be very much what you would find on the Las Vegas Strip. So I would highly recommend, if you do stay on Fremont Street, that you stay at Circa, just because the rooms themselves are what you would expect for something on the Las Vegas Strip. It's really funny because we've talked to Derek Stevens before, and he said one of the most important things, besides the bed being comfortable, is the water pressure for the showers. And also they had to be very tall. So they had to be set up higher and have great water pressure, which I can say, great water pressure inside of these rooms. The rooms themselves, very cool. You do want to get the rooms that face the Strip, obviously. They do sell these as more expensive, not just because of the Strip view, but also you get a wonderful view of the pool right below you, which everyone always, big sports bettors or people who work in sports will come to Vegas, stay at Circa, and the most important thing for them is to show off the view from their room to the pool down below them. You can also get nice views of like the mountains on the other side, but who wants to stay on that side? But typically the room cost for the Circa property, you're looking at about $120 a night. That's Monday through like Thursday. Sometimes it could be Sunday through Thursday as well. It does depend, the room prices, on what sport is going on at the time. It's really, really important to note that, just because like right now I'm looking at August and I can always tell like what event is going on that time. So for August, you can get a room for $150 on August 5th. But once we get to August 9th, which is a Friday, the price goes up to $609. People might ask, well, what is this extreme price jump? It is because that evening is the start of the college football season. So that's always important to note. It also could be their Bet Bash. Actually, take it back. I believe it's their Bet Bash. I take that back. It's their Bet Bash. Most of the college football season doesn't start until, I believe, September, which when you go to that date, you get to September, it's $470 a night. So that's exactly what's going on. So August 8th, 9th and 10th is Bet Bash, which is a huge giant event that takes place and is centered around Circa. But when you look in September, the start of the football season, which is the 15th, I believe. I don't think it's the 8th, it's probably the 15th. We're looking at $480 a night. So again, it jumps depending on what event is in town. That's always a big thing to keep in mind. Their most expensive month, by the way, if you were wondering what the most expensive month in the year for this place is October. October is their most important month because that's when the most sports are going on, is in the month of October, which many have said October is the greatest month of sporting in ever, honestly. So those are the rooms. So they're quite nice. I have to say the suites are really nice as well. The standard rooms are just perfect. If you just want a double queen room, I'd say that's probably your best bet, or a king. It's going to be a really great choice regardless. But anyways, we've gone long. This is a very long episode talking about Circa. Overall, Circa is a beautiful property on the inside, very new wave, very sharp, very cool. I would recommend this to anybody who's over the age of 21. And oh my goodness, guys, I can't wrap up the episode without talking about Barry's. Barry's is actually their most important restaurant because it's probably the most publicized restaurant at the property. This is actually one of Devontae Adams, who's a football player, his favorite restaurants. You get a lot of sports stars that end up eating at Barry's. Barry's itself is a steakhouse. It's actually located below Vegas Vicky. This is always why I forget it, because it's sort of like a hidden gem, if anything. And it's really, it's good. It's good. I thought it was fine. I'm a big sides person when it goes to steakhouses, and they don't have my favorite sides at this property. The steak's good. I've kind of, like, as you guys noted off of my last episode, kind of like away from steak at the moment, just because, it's gotten very expensive, in town. And Barry's is no different. Barry's itself is, just heralded by so many people that it's very, very good. They have this dish that's off the menu. Chef Barry will actually come out and make it for you, and they only sell a certain number a night. It's like a lobster mac and cheese, which is very, very highly touted. So that's definitely something you want to check out. They also have their s'mores, which is really, really good dessert that I would highly recommend if you go there, take it or taste it. But their steaks are really, really good. Again, I don't know how to judge it because I haven't had one in a while from Barry's. But it's very dark. It feels very Chicago. It's very, very hidden. And it's a really great place for dates, special occasions. But again, you're going to spend a pretty penny there. I would say if you go, you're probably going to be spending about $125, $130 a person. And obviously it can go way higher up than that, just depending on what you order. So didn't want to finish the episode without talking about Barry's. And again, it's located downstairs. Highly recommend that you make reservations, of course. It's one of the only places that they will allow children to come eat at, just because sometimes you have powerful people and sometimes they want to take their kids to dinner. And sometimes your place is inside of a 21 and over property. So keep that in mind. But anyways, that is the Circa Hotel and Casino. I would recommend this place to anybody. Again, you could check out on their website and see all, their features and good stuff. But again, thank you so much for listening to Concierge Confidential. Really appreciate you guys, following us. Make sure to check us out on any of our socials. And again, I look forward to talking to you guys again very, very soon. So again, make sure you follow all the social channels, Concierge Confidential _LV. Remember, if you see me out in town, come say hello. Maybe I'll buy you a drink. But remember, keep it confidential.